It was the year 2000. Y2K, remember that? It was Y2K. And I'd signed up for this conference. It was a United Nations Sustainability Conference in Prince George, British Columbia, which is where I was living up in Canada. Y2K. And, the topic sounded great. It was like I was really interested in it. And the lineup of speakers looked really interesting. But I didn't want to go. I really didn't want to go to the United Nations conference, and I had important work to do. I had projects to do. But what I really didn't want to do is I just didn't feel like going and networking and hanging out and mingling with people. But I committed. I showed up, and it was kind of like I thought it was going to be. There was a lot of people, and I had to mingle and force myself out of my protective shell. But in one of the main sessions, there was this guy on stage, that the speaker that I had never heard of, Dr. Stelfox, and he was talking about cumulative effects. And at the time, I was doing strategic landscape planning on big areas using one of the most advanced models in the world. It was simulated annealing, heuristic, forecasting, fully spatial GIS model. Amazing. It had been written by Carry Lockwood at the McGregor Model Forest. And I thought that was really, really cool. I felt like I was on the leading edge. And yet here was this guy on stage talking about a different model that could do all the math of bringing together the cumulative effects of human land use and natural disturbance. Like transportation, mining, agriculture, forestry, cities, tourism, wildfire, avalanches, floods, all of it. I thought that's pretty cool. And as a forester, I knew all these things were going on, but in the modeling that I was doing, we were really just working on forestry. And I knew in my gut, I just knew that wasn't the whole story. And here's this guy on stage talking about an approach to do it all. And that seemed awesome. So when he finished, I was sure to catch him in the lobby and introduce myself, and we got along famously. And I invited him back to my office so that we could share with him what we were doing over at the McGregor Model Forest, and my colleagues could learn what he was doing. That was the beginning. That was the beginning of a major, life-changing, career-changing event for me. Since then, I've been specializing in cumulative effects analysis now for 21 years. If I hadn't, it was just so awesome to have that opportunity to connect with somebody who saw things the way I see them, but also was out ahead of me and had some other ideas. That one opportunity to meet a person like that. I don't know if I hadn't gone to that UN conference. I don't know if I'd had the opportunity to meet Dr. Stelfox. Brad, I call him now. I don't know if I'd had the opportunity to have him mentor me and teach me much of my craft for the last 20 years. I just don't know. We worked on cool projects together in the Alberta oil sands region, putting together cumulative effects frameworks in British Columbia. I just don't know if it would have happened. And sometimes you don't feel like going. Should I really go to this thing? Should I sign up? And you might be missing out. You might be missing out on one of the biggest opportunities of your life. It's actually in part why I created the CFX conference series. To create this place where we could have these vital connections and meet others, but also to make it more fun and safe and interesting. Not so much of that, awkward mingling stuff, but to actually just make it easier. Because you just don't know what's possible. Sometimes you don't even know that you don't know, right? And then you go to an event like that, you step out of your comfort zone, you meet somebody, and boom, a bunch of bells go off in your head. It could be life-changing. It changed my life. That UN conference back in Y2K was life-changing. My guest this week is Gina Lucarelli. Hi, Gina.
Hi. Hi, Barry. What a great story.
Wow. It is a great story. And, Gina is joining us live from New York.
I've heard that somewhere.
Yeah. And I love New York. Oh, hello, New York. And Gina guess where she works? Come on, guess. The United Nations. Is that cool or what? Now, if you go on LinkedIn, Gina describes herself like this. It's kind of serious at the beginning. UNDP Accelerator Labs team leader, aspiring geek, and believer in the comeback of citizens and facts. Now, is that cool or what? That's great, Gina. Uh, I love it. I've always thought I'm a geek, so when Gina and I met, like we got along famously right away. Now she's been working in global development and innovation for over 20 years in a number of areas: collective intelligence, sustainable development, justice reform, indigenous knowledge, and participatory development. That's a lot. And she leads teams, big teams. We're going to hear about those today at the United Nations, integrating across silos. Sounds like what I talk about. Increasing transparency and partnerships, data-driven management, and strategic advocacy, all focused on achieving the UN sustainability goals. Wow. Gina, it's so great to have you here joining us on CFX, The Connection of Things today. Thanks for making some time.
Oh, thank you, Barry. This is fantastic.
Yeah. And just a warning, we have lots of fun, and I am a geek. All right. So Sarika is our assistant producer joining us in comments and reactions. I think I can just bring that right here. See, there she is. And if you're watching us live, get onto there, participate live. That's the whole beauty of this, is that we don't have to, go it alone, Gina and I. You guys can jump in and get in on this conversation. Gina, are you ready?
I'm ready. Fired up and ready to go.
All right. Bourbon Blues on the street, loose and complete. Let's get this show on the go. Oh, I got to turn it off.
I love it.
If you're old enough to remember the Muppets, you get that. The Tragically Hip sing this song, Springtime in Vienna. The blues are still required. If you haven't already, jump on that subscribe button and be a part of this growing movement of change makers. Come on, do it. And hey, add an emoji of the flag of the country that you're in, right? Or where you're from, or both of them. For crying out loud, we have the United Nations here. Let's do this. This
You have
is...
193 options.
Yeah, there you go. So this is webisode 20 of CFX, The Connection of Things. It streams live from Secwepemcúlecw, which is the unceded and traditional territory of the Secwepemc Nation in southern British Columbia, Canada. Privileged to live and work here. Gina, what's something about you that's unusual but cool? Because we love cool here. Or something interesting that we wouldn't necessarily know from reading your bio.
Well, I like the way you integrated music, and it makes me think of, one of the coping mechanisms I've developed over the lockdown is I have no talent whatsoever, but to make they're like TikToks, they're reels on
Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah.
We have a dog who's almost 15 years old, and I'm kind of capturing her
Oh,
movement
wow.
to music. So this is something that I've been playing around with. It's really just for me more than anything, but it's fun.
Oh, that's awesome. There was another app too that used to take like regular music and you would lip sync it. I forget the name of that, but Sarika's actually been bugging me to get some reels together from this show, and wow, 15 years old. That's an old pup.
Yes, and she's from Kosovo.
Oh, wow.
I was working at the United Nations in Kosovo, um, and was a bit lonely because I was there on my own, and somehow learned about this puppy. 15 years later, here we are. She's
So
family.
what's her name?
Yuki.
Yuki. Does Yuki have her own Instagram?
No, she doesn't. But she is the focus of my reels.
We actually, Tula is our Great Pyrenees. Tula the Great is her Instagram channel, and we're setting up a YouTube for her because, yeah, she's a character. And you can live vicariously through your dog, right?
Absolutely. And especially now when, you can't socialize, like
Yeah.
showing pictures of your dog and like getting interaction with that is like a big part of our connectivity.
It's crazy, and then there's this like COVID dog thing that happened. Like when COVID hit, in our neighborhood there were two dogs. Now there's like 15 of them. Everybody got a dog, and so it's kind of madness out there at walking times right now.
Because at some point it was like your legitimacy for being out, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Now we know the dogs more than we know the people, probably. All right. Well, so everyone, again, if you're there, we've got Jennifer. Jennifer, tell us where you're from. Throw a flag in there. Great to see you along with us. Gina, we got introduced through a mutual friend of ours, Liz Dempsey. And we actually, Liz was on this show on episode 16. And Liz has been instrumental in putting together this amazing international faculty of speakers at CFX 2021. And a little shameless plug here, but man, if you're here and you want access to experts like Gina, she's going to be on our open data to support transparent, effective, and efficient monitoring of cumulative effects panel. If you're watching this, you should be at that conference, honestly. It could change your life, just like Brad did for me. So there's the website. Check it out. We're going to be talking today about the United Nations Development Program Lab. So, Gina, inquiring minds want to know, what is a lab, and do I have to wear one of those white lab coats if I work there?
It's funny you say that. So these labs they're teams of data scientists, ethnographers, designers, engineers, social entrepreneurs who we've hired at the United Nations in 91 countries now. And they work on Yuki. Yuki's getting she's always more famous than I am. She really runs things around here.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are social innovation labs inside the United Nations.
Okay.
And funnily enough, I do remember when the lab launched in Uzbekistan, one of our 91 countries. I think
Wow.
tongue in cheek, they all did put on white lab coats and kind of made that part of their launch in Tashkent.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, you could have a lot of fun skits with that.
For sure.
But really, I mean, being a lab, I mean, it's kind of like, I think of it as like an intensive, like you're really focused on a specific challenge or experiment.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. There's that. It's kind of like it's a protected space for creativity. It's acknowledging that like we don't have all the answers and we actually do need to explore and experiment. And really, really importantly, to learn from the innovations of women and men who are facing the effects of climate change and, living in areas of low human development.
Mm,
Those are the people we're really trying to learn from.
yeah.
So what we've been doing a lot is mapping those innovations, learning to see them, figuring out, what we can do differently based on the kinds of hacks that people are coming up with. So it's fantastic. It's a dream job, really.
It's empowerment, and I love what you're saying there too, because it's about enabling people that are really facing some of these more than perhaps you and I are. They're really facing it every day, and like I look here, I share the screen. There's where all the labs are. Extensive network. It's really cool because they're coming up with solutions of their own. and what you're doing is really empowering that. Whoops, where'd you go? There you are. Who's this other shadow person? Is somebody getting in on and hacking our screen? They're not. I'm just joking. It's, you know what it is? It's Barry's technical prowess showing up here on the production studio.
You are your own hacker.
Oh my god. Bear with me, people. Sorry about that. It's real. It's live. That's what you get.
That's right.
So, yeah. So let's, I think there's 91 labs, right?
That's right.
Why are there so many? Like, why wouldn't you just have like one lab?
Just one and stop, right?
More is better.
I think we were, well, the innovation team at the United Nations Development Program where I work was kind of looking at all of the energy and momentum around public sector innovation labs. Governments have them. Canadian government has done
Yeah.
a lot of work in this. The UK, Chile has a long running lab. Denmark had one for almost 20 years. Um, and we had been doing some experimentation inside the organization, but not we hadn't doubled down on it. So our big boss, Akim Steiner, who's the administrator, he came in and he said, "Well, if this is where the energy is, why don't you just go for it? Just set them up." And at first, he wanted 60 labs, and we literally went from 0 to 60. Of course,
Wow.
many of us thought it'd be good to kind of stagger this. Let's do 10. Let's learn from it. It's like it was like this was the moment we were waiting for to have a senior manager who believed in this.
Yeah.
And then it was the first time for me where I was like, "Whoa, can we chill?"
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Wow.
Like,
Careful what you
it
ask
was
for.
never happened to me before where it was like he wanted things moving faster than I was even ready to go. And I'm so glad we did because it was kind of like this. We created a critical mass of innovators inside the United Nations who then push the organization to be more open, to be more modern, to be, in better service to the people we are there for.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And so does is there one lab in each country, or do some countries have multiple labs?
Yes, so we've got 91 labs serving 115 countries. So in some of the Caribbean island states or the Pacific island states, we've got like a lab in Fiji that covers 7 countries around it.
Hmm.
Same with Samoa, same with Barbados. Um, so that's how it works. And one thing that is also worth noting is actually that the teams, so each lab has 3 people. A head of solutions mapping, that's the person with the ethnographic background who really tries to learn from the wisdom of people
Yeah.
in sustainable development. Then you've got a head of exploration who might be a data scientist and might be able to help us tap into some of that digital data exhaust, that is being produced and is kind of can be a more real-time understanding of mobility and poverty, and what people think about refugees or
Right.
vaccination or what have you.
Yeah.
And then you've got a head of experimentation, and her or his job is to actually run tests and kind of probe the system and see what works and what
Ah.
doesn't. And all of
Right.
those people are from the country where the lab is.
Cool.
So we work with an incredible diversity of people, and then they diversify further, kind of who we listen to understand sustainable development problems and think of solutions.
Yeah. And because they're local, I mean, through the UN. The UN's this big, mighty organization, but you're really then just focusing right in on their network and their connections and to what matters to the people there.
Yes, exactly. It's a bit of the the meaning behind "We the People," the first words of the UN Charter.
Yeah.
We're kind of opening that up, using all of this connectivity that we have to give that new meaning.
It's so this show is about cumulative effects, and I don't know how to say this. We're bending the paradigm on what cumulative effects are, because, if you look it up, if you Google it, you're going to find out it's a legislated constraint in environmental impact assessments, kind of like the pain we're trying to avoid because we can't mitigate against some project things that are left over. And yet, cumulative effects are really, if you just stand back and think about it, they're system outcomes. I mean, you're working on systems. They can be positive or negative, and they're really the consequences of a bunch of choices we're making, all in combination holistically. So, with that in mind, then, I mean, these accelerator labs this is a powerful force going out, connecting through the world. How's it going? Like, what are you seeing so far in terms of, some results or actions? Share something with us there, or one or two.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, just honestly, just seeing what all these teams are doing is a job in itself. And then
Oh,
we at the global level are just like, wow, okay, you're working on
yeah.
misinformation and vaccines and trying to crowdsource that in Argentina, and you guys are over there using virtual reality to depict the informal food system in Zimbabwe. And wait a minute, what's Vietnam got going? Like, that's crazy.
Oh, wow.
Anticipatory regulation, who would have thought? It just goes and goes and
Yeah.
goes. It
And you
blows your
start
mind.
looking through, like I'm just sharing part of the screen
Yeah,
here. I mean, the posts that are here, it just goes on and on and on and on and on. So it's actually kind of, for me, it was kind of overwhelming actually at the beginning. I was
it
like,
is. It is. We
wow,
need a
they're
bit
doing so
of
much
like,
stuff.
we need some machine capability to help us process it, classify it, make connections, understand what the nodes of the network are. We know the synapses are firing,
Yeah.
but we want to kind of curate. I always say, let's try and capture some of the gossamer, not all of
Mm.
it, but some of it.
Well, there's some great videos that I've been watching that you have on YouTube. You've had like some Ask Me Anything sessions, the blog itself, and the website for UNDP. Incredible resource. Like, wow, I feel like I just walked into a brand new library. It's really exciting, and there's so many things in there. That's a great way to share all of that stuff. And just listening to some of the people, the pride that they have too in their own projects. And another thing, like, there's not everybody thinks the United Nations acts fast, but these labs do. Like, in some of one of the ones I was listening to, it was around the plastics. They
Mhm.
got the lab together. They got the first experiment going in 2 days. That's awesome. Like, that's movement.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit of that like get up and go spirit. And then we kind of combine that with, the United Nations tends to have, it's seen as a legitimate organization in most
For sure.
places. It's got convening power. So if you kind of, it stands for human rights and, environmental principles. So if you combine this kind of, just do it kind of mentality with those principles, then you're really moving somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And for those who aren't aware of it, I'm hoping that we'll shine a little bit more light on that. And I'm really looking forward to see how we're really doing some innovative stuff, particularly on the application of Indigenous knowledge, walking on, as it said, walking on two legs or seeing with two eyes, and bringing two ways of knowing together, and reshaping governance, land governance in Canada, especially in Western Canada, where, like I said, in Scotmagulu, like, this is unceded territory. There aren't treaties here, and there are still declarations to go back to the Royal Proclamation in 1763 about a partnership. So I think that, despite the fact that you're focusing these efforts in other areas of the world, there are lessons there that we can bring home and use right away.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. And I'm going to switch over right now to this segment called The Forest of Whispering Speakers. I did it. All right. My technology is so amazing at times. It's been a real talk about a roller coaster ride. If you ever go back and watch episode one day it's going to be a great blooper reel. But we've come a long way. But I'm a forester and an ecologist and trying to attempt to be a YouTuber. But the Forest Whispering Speakers, if you're new to this channel, know this. Canada's house band, the Tragically Hip, that's my favorite band ever. And Gord Downey, who is the lead singer, he's my favorite lyricist and poet. And the Forest of Whispering Speakers is borrowed from a line in their song, For a Good Life, You Just Might Have to Weaken. It's an epic song. It's about, to have some growth, we might have to lay down our position a little bit. And so this segment honors musicians and the wisdom that they share with all of us through their art. Gina, we can get all hung up in our science and our reductionist zeroing in on stuff, and yet artists are there all the time as our inspiration, and they're giving us wisdom. So I love to share an artist, a song every week, and then my take on the lyrics, and we can talk about that together. And as it relates to the topic that we're talking about. So written and performed by Patti Smith is the song People Have the Power. And not to be confused with Patti Smythe from Scandal. She's awesome too, but now this is Patti Smith. And I'm going to pick out a few lines that I love. It's not the full lyrics of the song, and just share them with you. And then I'm going to connect that right back to the Accelerator Labs. And then we're going to talk about some other cool stuff related to that song. But I was dreaming in my dreaming, and my senses newly opened, I awakened to the cry that the people have the power to redeem the work of fools. The mistakes that we've made. And hey, it is what it is. Upon the meek the graces shower, it's decreed the people rule. The people have the power. And vengeful aspects, those things that where people are looking out for themselves, became suspect because people had their ear and were exchanging visions. Where there were deserts, I saw fountains like cream, the waters rise, and we strolled there together with none to laugh or criticize. I love this part. The leopard and the lamb lay truly bound together. As I surrender to my sleeping, I commit my dream to you. The people have the power to dream, to rule, to wrestle the world from fools. I believe everything we dream can come to pass through our union. This is it. This is what you're doing. We can turn the world around. We can turn the Earth's revolution. We have the power. The people have the power. And Gina, I just see this as the coming together of people, which is most certainly what the UNDP Accelerator Labs are really catalyzing.
Absolutely. It's beautiful. It's nice to have a close read of the Patti Smith lyrics. It's like poetry.
It is poetry, and it's, as Gord describes in one of his sounds, poets, they're Himalayas of the mind. I love it. I just love it. And this song,
I like when he says this kind of, the people have the power to what is it? Redeem the work of fools, or
yeah. Let's see here. Redeem the work of fools. Yes.
redeem the work of fools.
And especially I guess since the Industrial Revolution, we got onto another trajectory. So a lot of it has worked out. A lot of people have a better quality of life than ever was imagined, but not for everybody. And yeah.
Makes me think of, we work a lot on collective intelligence, kind of this idea that, we can get smarter together. We can, all the almost 8 billion people of the planet can function as a collective brain, right? We have a collective memory. We have collective observance power. We can be collectively wise. Of course, there's also collective stupidity, which is probably how we got into this mess. But yeah, this is one of kind of our driving principles at the labs and increasingly at the United Nations, is that, you talk about sustainable development, it is so massive because it is related to micro decisions and actions taken all around the world,
Yes.
just trillions of them in like, the last second. How
Cumulatively. Yeah.
Totally, totally. And so the only way we're going to, we're not going to um, have a top-down solution for this, right? I used to
Mm.
work with economists a lot back in, before we had the sustainable development goals, and we were talking about what's needed. And they would always say, Gina, you just increase the price of fossil fuels and everyone will behave accordingly. And then, we'll go for it, which has some truth to it for sure. But there's also this incredible, we just need to be able to problem solve in this distributed way.
Yeah.
We need to be able to do that. I think
Yeah.
Patti Smith is, she's probably talking in a more revolutionary spirit, but kind of understanding all the solutions that are out there, all the alternatives to plastic that are, being born from seaweed and cassava and agro waste. And,
Mm-hmm.
this is one of the things that we do is we kind of map these. We look around, we found 2,000 solutions so far, 2000 and counting, and we try and learn from them. What
Yeah.
is it about this homemade, homegrown, frugal innovation that tells us something about what we're trying to do with sustainable development?
Yeah. Yeah. And we've talked about this on the show before. And you're really touching on this. It's personal. It's not only empowerment, it's responsibility. Instead of saying, "Oh, well, the government needs to do something," no, we need to look in the mirror and I've used the example. I've used this example a few times, but I'll use it again. My cell phone here takes 16 square meters of land to produce the packaging that was sent this to me. I probably could have done with a bubble wrap, thanks.
Yeah.
And a touch screen requires 8 rare earths. So every time you upgrade your phone every 6 months to get a new screen, you're demanding the world open up some more open pit mines for rare earths. And yet that it's not just about not doing. That's actually, if you make this phone, you get a little bit weird, and you make it last 4 years even, right? 4 years instead of 1 year. You're reducing your demand on the planet by 75%, and you got more money in your jeans to go do fun stuff because these are not cheap. So yeah, it's like a win-win. I want to show you something just relating to that because it's a beautiful segue. Like, so Patty's, I'll show you something about her, but she's done this song all over the world. Like she did it with U2, she did it with Bruce Springsteen. She did it in 2019 at Choir at the Public Theater in New York. Earth Day Italia 2011. Sheryl Crow, it's become a bit of an anthem. And on globalcitizen.org, they have a blog there. And they talked about the song. It's a powerful reminder to not sit passively, but rather to work to create the world we want to live in. And I just want to share something here because I did share this sort of with Gina earlier. This is, if you go to my website here, we're seeing that. Yeah, we're seeing that. Okay, so go to my stories, scroll down, create the life you want. And this was 2 years ago. My wife Karen and I went to New York City. You recognize that bridge?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
There's a shot.
we went to New York City to run the New York City Marathon. It was a dream of mine to go there. I just love New York. This is funny. This is actually Karen and I emerging into the ecosystem called Manhattan from Penn Station, right underneath Madison Square Garden. That blew my doors off. And yeah, there's me. Don't judge. I just ran a marathon. I think I'm looking pretty good.
Come on, right?
But I was in Bryant Park and I saw this sign. You see it? Create the life you want. And the shop was closed, so I couldn't buy the sign. So I took the picture. But I think that's when it comes back to it. It's about taking this sort of personal responsibility. We can decide what we're doing and what our life looks like, and we can understand that we have a relationship with the environment and that we create economies that can either deplete or regenerate that environmental capital. It's our choices, right? So here's the thing. I'll share this. Hopefully I don't get in trouble. I've been burned by a few record labels trying to share some stuff on here, but this is a live Archetype posted this. I think it's just like a video from their phone. November 2020, Patti Smith in New York City on the street. Let's look at this. Can you see that?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, she's apologizing there because she has to take her mask down to sing. So as everybody backing up, I'm going to try to play this. Let me know if you can hear this. Hopefully you can hear this. Can you hear it?
It's quiet, but yes.
All right, let's get the sound up. She is on 6th Avenue, I think.
Uh-huh.
Our next generation.
Okay. Beautiful.
People have the power. People have the power. People have the power.
Yeah.
People have the power. Believe it.
All right. So you can go on there to Archetype's YouTube channel and watch that. It's awesome. There she is, just out with the people in New York, inspiring people to use their voice. Right at the end, she's like, vote! Exercise your democracy.
I think there may have been an election going on then.
There might have been, but yeah, just the power of democracy there, and I just loved it. Yeah. So
Beautiful.
Usually I don't spend that much time, Gina, on the Force of Whispering Speakers, but this seemed to connect so well.
It's powerful. It's a good reminder, because sometimes you feel so, overwhelmed by the system, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, the systems are famously difficult to transform. They're embedded, they're designed. Was it Donella Meadows who says, they always get the results that they are designed to get? That's exactly what is meant to happen. But they're unpredictable, and they're interconnected, and they're messy, and
Yeah.
all of that. So it's good to kind of remember that, yeah, it's there is something upon us, and we can take action, and we got to keep paying attention.
And the accelerator labs are enabling it. And you told me something interesting. There's some things you want to learn through the labs, but there's also some things you want to unlearn. What's that about?
What we want to unlearn. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a personal question for everyone who's involved in all these 91 labs around the world.
Yeah.
Lately, I've been thinking a lot about, we certainly have some colonial legacies,
Absolutely.
within global development, within what we're trying to do, and trying to unlearn that for sure. Trying to unlearn this kind of urge to simplify reality. In order to, we're always under pressure because it's taxpayer money, and we should be, to be accountable for results, and to create a simple, narrative that shows there was a problem, there was a solution, there was some impact. But I think we need to learn to leave behind some of that oversimplification. It can be really detrimental. First of all, it creates a distance between us and those bureaucrats and people who are just living their lives, right? But it's also just it kind of limits all of your options, because then you start to see only that one possible future,
Yeah.
because you promised it, so you better deliver exactly
Yeah.
that, and the plan matters, and delivering according to the plan is the most important thing. So that's kind of some of the stuff we really need to unlearn, is how do you build in the space for serendipity? That you seeing that sign in the window of that store when all the
Yeah.
endorphins were pumping in your brain and you just ran a marathon, that's serendipity, right? You
Yeah.
meeting the speaker who talked about integrated development and made you think beyond forestry,
Yeah.
that's serendipity. And sometimes when we get overly focused on results, we hit it directly and we miss all of the oblique solutions,
Brilliant.
which is kind of how you stumble upon things.
Brilliant. Yes. Yes. I've experienced that in scenario planning many times, actually, where all we commit to is exploration and then let stuff synergize. And yeah, like you were talking about, getting zeroed in on a plan. No plan survives the battle. Most of them have a half-life of about a month. And I
Especially
often
these days.
say, I often say though, where the value is in the planning,
Right.
because that prepares you. It helps you understand the system, and you're going to have to shift on the fly. And in our world right now, where technology is just taking off, we have to be able to ride those waves, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're going to have to do. You're not going to be able to just say this is how it is. You're going to have to roll with it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is one of the things that exactly that we're trying to do that through the labs, and we've seen it happen.
Yeah.
We set up 60 of the labs in 2019, and then COVID hit in 2020 when they were just getting mature and
Yeah.
stable. And we sat back and we were like, okay, let's see, this is where they proved themselves, or this whole thing was a bunch of hype.
Right.
And we've not formally evaluated it yet. We plan to, but
Yeah.
the kind of anecdotal experiences, they really helped the United Nations Development Program pivot to the new realities needed, to coordinate crisis, to deal with some of these behaviors around supply chain shutdowns, to help, business leaders think more long term, even before, COVID-19 hit Africa. How do you start, the mask production, and how do you actually
Yeah.
tap into all this bottom up capability, right?
Yeah.
People with 3D printers, a woman who can sew a mask, all of that kind of, how does the government, who wants to be responsible for people's health and welfare and make sure things are quality and, according to procedure, tap into this crazy bottom up potential,
Yeah.
in a constructive way, right? And we
Yeah.
started
Actually,
to see that happening in many places around the world, in Tanzania, in Vietnam, in Ecuador, finding alternatives to ethanol when the supply chain, shut down. Um, it was extraordinary. So this ability to pivot
Yeah.
is one of the 21st century skills.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to kind of free up some space in order to let that happen.
And I saw another example of that in some of the videos at the lab of people using social media as a means to communicate and get the message out around, social distancing and connection for, vaccination and all of the things that are needed to get help to people fast. Those are untraditional methods thought to be just wasting people's time, but they actually have become really valuable tools that way.
Yeah, we have. I mean, we're all thinking a lot about our lab team and our colleagues in India
Yeah.
lately. Our hearts go out to them. They were actually the first lab that developed like a COVID-19 quiz, a game.
Mm.
And it's one of those things that this is where having so many labs, as you asked about, matters, because then
Yeah.
you get this network effect, this cumulative effect, where they developed the quiz in India. Then Cape Verde is like, hey, that's kind of useful. We need to adapt it because we don't have the same myths floating around on WhatsApp about, how to cure COVID-19 and
Right.
how to prevent it. But we
Right.
can use that game idea, and then it goes to Morocco and they integrate it into like, a youth participation program. It just, that's this kind of incredible network effect that we start to see sometimes.
Incredible. It is incredible. That signals one of my favorite parts of this show. It's the rapid fire segment. And this is where Gina gets to get nervous because she didn't get to study for this exam. And we get to find out what she's all about on the fly. Are you excited about this?
I'm a little nervous. Yuki's looking at me. She's judging me already.
Yeah. Oh my God. What are you going to say? No, there's nothing dangerous here. It'll just be fun. 10 rapid fire questions that I specifically picked out for you. Just quick answers and away we go. It'll be fun. This is always the funnest part of the show. And you and I have been having a lot of fun already with everybody joining us. So this is going to be crazy. All right. If I was David Faraday, I'd have my clock starting. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Favorite number?
7.
Oh, I got to get this out here. There we go. Yeah. 7. Favorite color?
Purple.
There's a lot of people like purple. That's opening my eyes. New York bagel or dollar slice?
Bagel.
Oh yeah. Uptown or downtown?
Downtown, baby.
Data?
Except for during the hurricane. Remember the Hurricane Sandy? Remember that? When uptown, like above 34th Street, they all had electricity and the world was normal. And downtown, we were all like, we had nothing. We had no cell phone coverage. We had no water. Like, it was just like, but we had community.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Data or data?
I say data.
Broadway or Hollywood?
Hollywood.
Oh. Someone who has inspired you. I'm sure there are many, but.
Oh, God. Yes. I mean, there are many people who inspire me. I mean, the lab teams in our network inspire me every day. They really are my reason for optimism. We have a scrum every Tuesday at 7 a.m. And like you said, hello, New York. It's good morning, Indonesia and Benin. Who we got? Who's in the house?
All right. Yeah. Robin Williams, he inspired me to laugh at myself. I will say, and this sounds corny, but you inspire me. All right. Would you rather fly or sail?
Fly.
Me too. A book you're currently reading?
I'm rereading Primer on Systems Thinking by Donella Meadows.
Wow. Sweet. What's your most
ahead of her time.
used emoji?
Most used emoji. Well, I took a long time to get on the emoji bandwagon, but now I'm in. Probably the laugh out loud one. The little crying guy.
That should be mine. Mine's boring. It's just like a thumbs up. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, look at me. I'm always laughing out loud. I should be doing that. It's real. All right. See, that was easy, and the sanctity of the United Nations is still safe. All right. So we're just like flying through this show. I can't believe it. We're at the last segment here, the CFX library, which is, again, like we talk about really cool stuff and people get to meet really cool people like Gina. But I always ask the guests too to sort of give us a heads up on a reference for the CFX library. Let me bring up my amazing banner, which Gina left, and this other person keeps trying to poke their way in. I got to figure that out. Actually what I need like an on-site producer. Because there's a lot of stuff going on here.
Yeah, it's a lot of things here. Yeah.
Anyways, CFX library. Do you have a reference for us that you want to share with us? It could be a report, or it could be a video, or a website.
Definitely. Well, the blog site of our lab network. So we made a decision early on that we wanted to work out loud, even when it's messy, even when we don't have results yet, even if the experiments fail. So basically, we tell the labs, okay, don't send us any boring activity reports. You don't want to write them. We don't want to read them. Just reflect publicly And so every day there's something new there. There's, you can just scroll through. What are they doing, in Somalia on understanding pastoralism through different data sources, and it just goes and goes and goes. So that's the best place just to pick up and get a dose of optimism, and hopefully some knowledge creation on what works and what doesn't in sustainable development.
Yeah, and I like the way things are categorized here, so you can look through this, and it's just an amazing resource. This is a fantastic resource. You just have to go to UNDP Accelerator Labs, go up here, click on blogs. I love this one. Positive
Positive.
deviance.
Yeah. Isn't that a great term?
Oh, I feel like that's my life. Kind of
It's better than negative conformity, that's for sure.
yeah, love it. Positive deviance, deviant person. Just trying to. The reason I love it is because I'm always saying we don't have to accept business as usual. Why? That's not the pathway forward. We create the life we want, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely love it. And there's not just Gina there. I mean, through that website, you can connect to a lot of people, right? There's a whole network of people that you can connect to if you've got ideas, if you want to, participate. All of those avenues are open. I love it. It's so wide open and welcoming.
Absolutely. And just to say a quick plug, if you do have sort of solutions you want to share, prototypes, things like that, check out the For Tomorrow platform. That's where you can actually submit solutions, and we're kind of keeping track of those and making connections and building on that.
So that's going to be, where is that going to be? Where am I going to find that?
That should be linked to on the website, but it's something we need to work on. It's not yet. If you just Google For Tomorrow, you'll find it.
Oh, okay. Let's do that. UNDP For Tomorrow. This one.
I think it's that second one, yeah? It's a partnership with Hyundai. Yes.
There we are.
Yep.
Cool. And kudos to the comm team for getting their SEO really hot. Man, that was a fast search result. So that's really awesome.
They'll be very happy you said that.
I'm actually a co-founder of a nonprofit called BC Tomorrow, where we provide online simulator for schools and teachers to explore their own watersheds around sustainability, and they can actually, it's like a gaming thing where they can set goals and targets for achieving different things like water quality or grizzly bears or wages or something like that, and then see how it unfolds and try to develop a plan. So I love all this idea of thinking about tomorrow. It's not that today isn't important, but it's what we do today that matters about for tomorrow, because we're running out of the flexibility and the slack in the systems.
Very true.
Yeah, we have to be very forward thinking. Well, Gina, we could go on for a long, long time. I'm having so much fun here. I think I'm going to put it out there that we're going to have a follow-up with the labs sometime in the future.
Cool.
And maybe, wouldn't it be cool if we could maybe highlight a couple of labs and get some other people from around the world?
Just thinking of that. Absolutely. Yeah. They're much more fun to talk to than I am.
Oh my God, I don't know if I could stand it because I'm laughing a lot. Gina and I are both on LinkedIn, for sure. You can connect with us there. You can also connect with me directly at barryjwilson.com, which is my website. If you didn't get a chance to watch this show live with us, you can still leave comments or questions underneath. And we'll monitor that. And if you got a question or whatever, we'll make sure either Gina or I get back to you on that. And if you're trying to get through to the UNDP, just go straight there. And they've got a great group of people that are going to be able to help you out. I want to say thanks to Sarika Mills, our assistant producer. If you haven't subscribed yet, what the heck are you waiting for? If you lasted this long in the show, I know you like it. So here's the thing. Make it easy on yourself. Hit subscribe, tap the bell, and then YouTube will tell you when there's new content. So you don't even have to do anything. Gina, thanks for sharing with us today, spending some time with me and everybody watching this show. Thank you for your leadership and inspiration of these amazing teams around the world. Just thanks for coming in and helping us.
Thank you, Barry. This has been really great. And I'm never going to forget that Muppet dance. I'm going to go back and rewatch that on YouTube if I need to pick me up.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. And I will see you next week at CFX 2021.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
looking forward to it.
CFXconference.com if you haven't signed up. The other thing about that, I just want to share with people, another thing, we're taking advantage of this crazy Zoom life in COVID. We've made the last, there'll be 3 years of content available to you. So even if you can't show up on the day, 3 years of content of speakers, legislation, innovators, amazing people all working on cumulative effects and connecting us all together for a bright future. So join us there. Gina, I'll see you next week. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And way to go, New York! Woohoo!